Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to day 17 of Be Quranic New Year Challenge 2025. Our challenge this new year is to spend the entire month of January studying Surah Al-Mulk. Every day we read one ayah, and then we dissect its tajweed rules, we understand its meaning, we explore its timeless lessons and wisdom. As an added challenge, we memorize one ayah from Surah Al-Mulk every single day. By the end of January, inshallah, we will have completely memorized Surah Al-Mulk, at the same time understand its meaning, and then already start exploring its timeless lessons and wisdoms. With the Quran, you never stop exploring its wisdoms, because there is always something new to discover. And when you look at the amount of tafsir works that has been produced, there is always new ones coming out every single year. Some of our scholars give the parable of studying the Quran like diving into the sea. You can dive at the same spot, but it is never the same sea. You will see different fish or different water temperature, different lighting. All gives you a different experience. You can dive at the same spot over and over again, and you'll always find something new, something different. You can read the same surah over and over again, and the deeper you ponder, the more you reflect upon it, the more you'll be amazed by the brilliance of the Quran. And this is why we read Surah Al-Fatiha 17 times a day. The Fatiha that we read in the first rak'ah of Fajr is not going to give us the same experience as the second rak'ah Fatiha, let alone the Fajr, the Dhuhr Fatiha and the Asr Fatiha. We read more over and over again, we dive deeper, we get a different perspective, we get a different relationship with the same surah. And it's the same with Surah Al-Mulk. We read it every single night. It's not the same experience every time. We unlock a different dimension, a different experience, contextualizing it to ourselves and our daily experiences. Alright, now let's get on to ayah 17 that we will be reading today. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أم أمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاصبا فستعلمون كيف نذير. Alright, now let's look at its tajweed rules. Amintum. Look at this noon. There is no sign or nothing on it. That means it is a merging noon, and is merging with the letter that comes after it. The letter that comes after it is ta. Ta is not part of yarmalun. That means this is a partial merger. You shape your mouth as if you're going to pronounce the letter ta, but you read through the noon sakin. So amintum, amintum. It's not amintum. That's just noon. This is amintum. Amintum. Look at this meme sakin. There is no sign on top of it. Again, it's merging with the next letter. The next letter is meme. So you just read it with two harakat ghunna. Now, compare and contrast this to the meme here, the first meme. There you see a sakin sign on top of it. There's a sukun sign on top of it. That means you read that meme clear. That meme, the first meme, it's not going to be read no, it's amintum man nun sakin. Nothing on top of it. That means this is a merging nun sakin. The letter after it is fa, not part of yarmalun, partial merger. Shape your mouth, prepare to pronounce the letter fa. Af. There it is. Af. So man fis sama, sama. This wavy sign here, meaning that it is a long mud. We read it 4 harakat. Ayn nun sakin. There is nothing on top of it. That means it's a merging nun sakin. And because the letter after it is ya, and ya is of course part of yarmalun, that means this is a full merger, complete merger. The sound of noon almost disappears. The only remnant of the sound of noon is the ghunna. That means it is ayn. Remember, this part, this merging of ya and wow, especially, it's easy for us to read the merging without ghunna. You can read it. Remember, the test is to pinch your nose. Ayursila. That's a wrong reading, because I'm not pushing the sound to my nasal cavity, to my khayshum. It's supposed to be not ay. So how the difference? If I pinch my nose and I try and do the ghunna, I get stuck. That is the sound that we want. But don't pinch your nose. So, أن يرسل عليكم مد أصلي حاصبا ba. Here, this is a fathatain, double fathah, tanween. If it ends, and if you stop your reading at a double fathah, at a fathatain, like this concept of hasiba, it becomes a mad. Mad, this is called mad iwad. You read it with two harakat. You don't stop hasib. But if it's anything else, if it's dhammatain, it's double dhamma. It's kasratain, double kasra. Let's say this is hasibun. You will stop hasib. Hasibin, you will stop hasib. But this is hasiban, you stop hasiba. Alright? Only when it is double fathah. And it's written with an alif at the end, and this will become mad'iwa, two harakat. فستعلمون لمو مد أصلي كيف نذير. This is مد عارض للسكون. We read it with 4 harakat. Alright, let's read the entire ayah together. Now extra focus on the tajweed rules. أم أمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاصبا فستعلمون كيف نذير. This ayah is continuing the rhetorical question that Allah asked in ayah number 16. Ayah number 16, if you look at the format of the sentence, it's quite similar. Ayah number 16, أَأَمِنْتُمْ, do you feel safe? Now, the 16 is, do you feel safe that the earth is not going to swallow you whole, not going to engulf you in its violent shake or earthquake? Before that, Allah said, ayah 15, Allah said that He tamed down the earth for us. If He tamed down the earth, that means He could then unleash His destructive powers, its violent shake that would engulf us, that would swallow us whole. أَأَمِنْتُمْ, do you feel safe? Now, in the next ayah 17, أَمْ أَمِنْتُمْ. Now, or if you don't feel safe from the earth, and Allah says Allah can destroy you by shaking the earth violently, it is within His control. Not a problem at all for Him to do it. Now, if you're not terrified by the earth, amintum, or do you feel safe? Now, something coming from the sky. Man fis sama, the one that is in the heaven. Now, this requires a bit of explanation. Man fis sama, the one in the heaven. Does that mean that God is limited by space, or He inhabits the heavens? Our scholars teach us to read ayats like this, ayat of direction, ayat of physicality, with another ayah where Allah says, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. He is not like anything, not like any of His creations. So if creation is a physical object, physicality is not applied to God. He's not limited by space. He created space. He created time. So He's not limited by space and time. So how do we understand Man fis sama, the one in heaven? Let's look at Safwatul Tafasir by Imam Ali Sabuni, who is a relatively contemporary scholar who passed away a few years ago. He said, أي أم أمنتم الله العلي الكبير, or do you feel safe that Allah al-Ali al-Kabir, the one that is most high and the one that is most great. So this is how our scholars have always understood ayah that denotes direction, physical location, physicality, hand, face, and so on. The majority of scholars, our mufassir, will read the context. When direction of high, it doesn't mean physical direction, it means greatness, it means elevatedness. Al-Aliyul Kabir, the one that is most high and most great. That He would not send down hasiba onto you. What is hasiba? Now hasiba has a very, if you look at the translation, it means rihun muhlika, a destructive wind, that carries with it rocks, stones, and everything. And when we look at what Imam Ali Sabuni said, أَيُّرْسِلَ عَلَيْكُمْ حِجَارَةً مِنَ السَّمَاءِ, that Allah would not send down, do you feel safe that Allah would not send down stones from the skies, like that he, like the ones that he has sent, على قوم لوط وأصحاب الفيل, to the people of Lot and the people of the elephants. So these are brimstones dropping from the skies. Wind is something that is interesting. A good wind brings with us rain. Hasib is the kind of wind that brings with it fire. And we see now LA is burning, Hollywood is burning, and its wildfire is spread by this dry wind. This is hasiba, dry wind, destructive dry wind that spreads around fire, that brings down brimstones, fire, burning rocks from the sky. So Allah says, do you think Allah can't do this? In one of the most affluent cities in the world, in the most powerful country in the world, burning, hasiba blowing, all this raging fire. This is not just some fantasies that happen to people that we read in fiction works, or some historical event that we read in scriptures. People of Lut, Ashabul Fil, yes, happened thousands of years ago. This is something very close to home. Australia, bushfire happens. It's an annual thing. This dry wind that carries with it burning forces, hasiba. Do you think that you can be safe from this? فَسَتَعْلَمُونَ كَيْفَ نَذِيرٌ. Only then would you know how serious my warning was. Are we only going to take the warnings of Allah seriously once we see Allah's destructive forces, either from a violent earthquake or from a raging wildfire or stones coming from the heavens? Are we only going to take Allah's warning seriously then? That might be too late. So as we read this ayah every single night, as we repeat this ayah to commit it to memory, reflect upon the greatness of Allah and His total control of the universe. At any point, He could just destroy us. And we could die, even if it's not from an earthquake, even if it's not from wildfire. We could die at any given moment for various reasons. People just drop dead, and doctors can't explain why. Because it's time for him to go. It's time for him to go. And we don't know when it is our time. He has that absolute control over us. What we don't want is we die while in the state of disobedience. And how do we protect ourselves from that? We try our best to live every single moment in the state of obedience towards Allah. If we live every single moment as a Muslim in submission to Allah, inshallah, we will die as a Muslim. That's ayah 16 and 17. Do not for one second think that we are independent from Allah's power, that we can freely disobey Him. There will be consequences for all our decisions.